So inventory shrinkage measures the margin you never see on an income statement. And so every missing compressor, miscounted control board, or unposted transfer quietly erodes your profit. And so if this KPI is rising, then money is leaving your operation without generating revenue. So let's calculate this. Pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is create this heat map. We're going to do it by month, and then we're also going to do it by location, and then add a total by month, and then a total by location. And then this bold right here is just an overall. And so here we have a pretty basic, inventory reconciliation, spreadsheet. And so what it's going to have is, when was the inventory taken? And then you're going to have things like, what branch was it? Category, part, system, who's your supplier, and then, cost. But these over here, these are the main things that we want. So on hand, quantity, receipts, how many had issues, any types of adjustments, and then the ending quantity, and then value, the cogs of the issues, of any of the issues that you had. And then finally, the other adjustments value, and then inventory value. So this is what we really need. Like, this is the number we're going to use as the denominator. So we're going to find shrinkage. We're going to multiply that times the value of that shrinkage, and then divide it by the average inventory value by month, by location. And so here we just have to do 3 columns. We just have to calculate these. The first is the end of the month column. And so what we want to do is we want to do EOMONTH, the end of the month, based off of when the inventory was taken, comma 0. Because 0 is going to give you that month. Like if you do 1, then this would give you essentially February, right? If you do 2, it would give you March, so on and so forth. And then the shrinkage is going to be this formula here. I'm not going to redo it just because it takes some time, but it's essentially, what is the ending quantity you have on hand, column P, minus the beginning quantity, and then plus receipts, subtract out anything that had an issue, and then add back in other adjustments. And again, if you want this file, there's a link to download it. You can get this formula or just pause this video and you can see it right here. And then the shrinkage value is just going to be this times the unit cost. But one thing, and I will show you this one because it is, it's all important, but doing it this way is actually important. What we need is we need the negative number. So in other words, like shrinkage is negative here, right? Shrinkage by definition is a negative number. And so when you multiply a negative times a value that is not negative, you're going to get a negative number, right? So we need to do the absolute value of this, or we could take, the minus shrinkage times the unit cost. So in other words, if we do, the shrinkage times the unit cost way over here, then we get 0, 0, 0. But here you can see we have a negative, but we don't want that to be negative. We want it to be positive. So just put a negative before shrinkage here, and then it'll just change everything to positive. Okay, so we have these. We can go ahead and remove these columns because we already have them here. And then the first thing we need to do is we need to have, say, the date. And so what we want to do is we want to get a unique list of the months that we calculated here, right? And so now we have, let me format it as a date. Now we have a unique list of the months, and they're also sequential, right? So we want them to be January, February, March, April, May. So copy this and then Control-Shift-V. Okay, and the next thing we want is a unique list of the location. So again, table inventory, location. Here, so we have that. But now we want to sort this alphabetically. And this part you don't really have to do, the sort. I just like to sort it. Whenever you have a lot of things, across the row or even in a column, if it's sorted alphabetically, it'll be easier to find. Like if you're looking for North Branch, then it's going to be in the middle somewhere by the ends, essentially. But if you're doing parts, you might have 20 different things, 30 different, line items to where it alphabetically makes more sense. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to put this across the top like this. We don't want it to be in a column. So type in transpose like this. Okay, then just copy and then you can paste, Control-Shift-V. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to sum this number that we calculated here. We want to sum this for the month, based off of month. So anything that's January 31 here, we want to sum this. But we also want to add another criteria, and that's going to be based off of location. So we would want like the main warehouses to be in the same bucket. And the way we do that is with the SUMIFS function. So we're going to do SUMIFS, and I'll just go back here. You don't really need to. You can just type everything here. SUMIFS, on the inventory table, we want to sum the shrink value, right? Here, comma. And then we want to do it where, say, the month that we calculated is here, comma, right? And I'll just do the next one just to show you. Then we want... And here, real quick, you can see that these are highlighted because we're typing them. And then the next thing we want is we want the location, comma, and then cell C3. I'll just go back to it to show you, but here, or C2, right? And then you can close that, and then you can press enter. So this is the value of the shrinkage, right? But we don't want that number. We want that as the numerator, and then the denominator is going to be the average inventory value. And so because we're using a table, what we can do is we can copy this formula, and then we can divide by the total, by the same formula, but instead of shrink value, we want average inventory value. And now you get the ratio. And these should be very small percentages, right? If you're doing this in your own data set and you see high percentages, it's definitely something to look into. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we just need to lock these cells to where we can, if you drag it down, you can see this is coming down one, right? And we don't want that. That's called relative referencing. And we want to do what's called absolute referencing at the column and the row level. So anywhere you see the column, meaning the blue or the months here, put a $ before the letter. So before the letter. And then anywhere you see the row, put the $ before the number, because numbers are rows. We want to lock the rows, so put the $ before the row, before the number. And then now you still won't be able to drag it over because of tables, meaning you can see its shrink value, but here you have, event date. But the way around that is just copy and paste. And now you have all that. So now we want overall, and then overall. And for overall, we just want it at the month level, right? So what we can do is we can copy this whole formula. And then now we just have to take out anywhere the branch is, any location data. So you can just click here, and then you can just delete everything here. And then here as well, you can delete everything here. And then now you have, for the month of January, your overall shrinkage was this percentage. And then here, sort of the same concept, but now we just need to remove the dates. The date part of this formula. So equals this. And then now anywhere you see the date, just delete that section. And then right here as well. Okay. Oh, I think I did something wrong. Let me see what did I do wrong, because it shouldn't be 0. Well, let me see. Maybe it's a rounding error. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And so the final thing, if you want this overall number, it's pretty straightforward. It's just the sum. It's not a SUMIF anymore. So now it's going to be the sum of the table, the shrink value, and I'll go in and change the name to shrinkage value, and then close that, divided by the sum of the table for it's the inventory table, and then this is for the average inventory value. And then now you can see it is 0.6%. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do here is just do conditional formatting. And so what you're going to want to do, there's several ways to do it. You can do it like this. You could essentially highlight everything, but like it doesn't make much sense to do it that way. I'll show you color scales, and then like this is red is high. So you can do it that way, right? So red is higher. Another way to do it is you could do it at like the row level, and you can include overall, but if you wanted to just see by month, you could do conditional formatting, color scales, and then do the red, the second one here where red is high. And then now you just have to do it every time, but there's a trick. And the trick is just highlight the first one and then double click the format painter, so home format painter, and then you can sort of see, by month pretty easily which one, right, has a certain the ranking sort of each one. And then for overall, if you wanted to, you could just do you could do like this, and then the same thing, conditional formatting, color scales, and then you could just see overall. And then here you could do the same as the ones above it. So that's one way to do it, right? Another way to do it, and I'm just going to copy this just to show you it's not really part of what I'm trying to show here, but another way to do it, let me just fix everything real quick. I'll just do percentages, but you could do it to where you have a changing cell. And if you watch, if you've read any of the parts of the book, or you've done, or you've watched any of my other videos, you can see here. So now you can highlight everything like this, and then conditional formatting, highlight cells, say greater than, and then this number, right? So maybe 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, right? And so you can do it that way just to see, what's coming up. But anyways, that is all I got for this one. If you have any questions about this, just shoot me an email, questions@databoards. If you want this file, again, link to download. If you can't find it, just shoot me an email, say, hey, Ryan, can you send me the shrinkage percent file for inventory? And also, if you need some help, getting your data structured in a way like this, or just need some help, calculating your KPIs, then again, you can email me, or there's a link to hop on my calendar. But anyways, that's all I got for this one, and I'll see you in future videos.